Yeah, and it's awesome to be here. Awesome to be back.
Beautiful.
Why that AMA we had back in July, I think it was we picked up some pointers from you for our AMAs from that.
Cool. That's huge compliment. I love that. Does Alex do some of your AMAs? I saw him in the audience.
Yeah, Alex actually makes our YouTube content and is one of the hosts of our AMAs and GFCs, Fireside Chats.
Cool. I almost came and joined one of your Fireside Chats for the first time. You guys were doing one on, maybe it was AMAs or community building or something like that, and I was camping. Someone sent me a DM about that. Yeah, like 2 weeks ago or something. I was bummed.
Yeah, well, the recording's up on YouTube, so you can go back and catch it.
Beautiful. Yep, I'll have to do that. And shout out to Alex for making that YouTube video. Cool. Well, what I would ask first from you is for anyone who maybe wasn't at that first AMA or isn't in your community yet, can you just break down what Gauss is, what you guys have brought, why you're innovative? I think there's a few projects that we see talked about a lot just because they're doing something that is maybe a little bit against the grain and actually creating something, and you guys are one of those projects. So just for anyone who's never heard of you want to intro yourselves?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Gary, captain at the helm of Gauss. We're building a curated layer 1 blockchain. What that means is that we're going to be vetting all the projects that apply with us before they launch and implementing a number of features to protect the brands and projects launching with us, our community and ecosystem. I think this space lacks a degree of accountability, and we're looking to provide that as a way to get large brands to onboard into the space and start using more tokenized assets in their marketing platforms, products, and other things. That, in a nutshell, is what we're doing.
Epic. Yeah, I mean, essentially, from my perspective, just how I see what you just said and what you guys are is that I think you used the word curated. You're a curated blockchain that instead of, how do I say this? Crypto in its beautiful, wild self is the West, right? Like there's no rules. Everything's chaos. And in that, we've seen some really, really legit innovation and really cool creation. But the downside of that is that we see garbage launch all the time. We see funds get rugged all the time. And so you guys are not going, quote unquote, like you're not the government, full regulation, but you are a community and a blockchain that's saying like, hey, let's actually pay attention to what we allow to launch inside of our giant ecosystem. Let's vet for quality. Let's make sure that the projects that are here have at least some ethics, despite some of the space. And so I think that's really awesome. Let's talk about the way that you guys are doing that. Have you brought anything onto the layer 1 blockchain yet?
Well, so we just launched the blockchain last weekend, which I think is important for us to launch before raising funds, just to, again, be against the grain of so much of what we're doing. It's definitely the harder approach, but you see a lot of other projects raise tons of funds. To answer your question, though, no, we haven't launched anything on it yet. We are going to be migrating over our NFT project and launching some others. We have another NFT project and a partnership that we're announcing this week, tomorrow, I believe. And that should happen later this month, early December. A lot of the partnerships that we've been discussing, it'll have an announcement and then be able to launch months later. We have one that will probably launch in February and be able to announce next month, I believe. So it takes time, doing stuff at this scale, a whole blockchain.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's something that people miss out on when they see that. When I say people, I mean anyone that's not entrepreneurial, has never run a business. You see crypto move at what feels like lightning speed, right? If you say you've been in DeFi for a year, you're a DeFi boomer at that point. You've just been here forever. And so when you see a project launch, you're like, oh, cool. Have you hit the moon yet? 2 weeks later, have you developed everything that was on your roadmap 1 month later? and people can forget that if you're building a legitimate business, and when we say crypto project really just means startup business on the blockchain. And when you're building a legitimate business, yeah, you have to build, and you can't build immediately. You can't build overnight. And so that's what you guys are doing. Your perspective was, let's build the system first before we try to put everyone on it ahead of time. And I actually really appreciate that. I think there's been a trend of like, we see projects constantly raise money for something they're saying they will create, as opposed to creating and then bringing investors in and saying, look, we already have we have what we're promising. We've built it. Now it's just a matter of like getting it running smoothly. And that's where you guys are at. And I love that.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, we're not just launching the blockchain. We have multiple other products too, because I think the NFTs are a great way for us to showcase what we're talking about. Like, yeah, you can launch membership passes and reward programs, loyalty programs. Here's how we're doing it. We're also launching our own swap, which is not normal for a blockchain to do.
Yeah.
You have Binance with their exchange. We wanted to go with the swap, which I think is very topical right now, because I want users to maintain their own assets. They should have custody of their own assets. And so a swap allows for that transfer from one to another without us needing custody or using the older ledger book system.
And if someone doesn't know what the difference between, or even what a swap is, can you explain why launching a swap is important?
Yeah, so if you want to, have a central, or not a centralized, but a single place for users to go so they can take token A and transfer it over to token B, you would need something to do that, either a peer-to-peer exchange, which is what most exchanges are. Not talking about market makers and all the details that get technical in that, but that's a peer-to-peer exchange. The swaps, Vitalik Buterin initially proposed the XYK market maker model. Market makers are nothing new, but automated market makers are. The idea behind that, you take token A and token B, you put them in a pool, and now anyone can swap one for the other. And anyone can provide more of that paired liquidity. The more liquidity you have, the more stability it is, the higher volume you can have in that pool without outsized price impact. But it's just a means of, moving tokens from one to another.
Cool. Yep. Perfect. I think, and why do you think that's not normal for a blockchain to do? Like, why is that? I said at the beginning that you guys are kind of doing some things that seem like you're going against the grain. And the reason why I think that's awesome is that a lot of times, and not that this is even a bad thing, but a lot of times, and most of the times, you're going to see projects or blockchains make decisions that is simply always a profit first decision. And I've seen you guys making things that are like space first, that are industry first, that are investor first. And I think that this is a good little piece to showcase. So why do you think that blockchains don't usually have swaps?
So as you were talking about earlier, the decentralized space is amazing and beautiful and innovative and great, and I fully support it. They create these blank canvases and just say to everyone, come paint on this, and that's awesome. Downside, obviously, you have good and bad actors, but they don't launch things like swaps generally, with Binance and some others being exceptions to having their exchanges, because they're just letting others build on it. They're just building the blank canvas. With us, we're building a canvas, inside of an art gallery and building everything else that it takes to run that. It's part of ensuring this space. Like, we'll have a partnership, or we have a partnership where somebody else will be launching swap with us, because I also believe competition is important. But there's a lot of things we want to do that we need to have these products in place for, like the Omni pool. So
yeah, do you want to talk about the Omni pool for a second?
Yeah, sure, I can. Earlier, I was talking about the what swaps are and how liquidity pools work right now. If you look at an entire swap, it's 1,000 different buckets of liquidity that are all networked together. So if you want to swap from the purple bucket to the blue bucket, you have to go through multiple steps. To go
Right.
from token A to token B to token C. That's two separate transactions. With us, it's still going to take a while to build Gauss 2.0 stuff. So next year is the aim for it. We're building an omni-pool system for the entire Gauss ecosystem that will allow users to have one large, vast ocean or galaxy of liquidity. So if we have 100 million locked up in USDC, that gets to be used across the whole ecosystem, not $1,000 in 1,000 buckets. Right now, the system works really well in swaps compared to exchanges, in my opinion, but there's still a lot of efficiency improvements, and this is one of those. It's also something unique that we can do as a curated ecosystem because we're gating projects, at the very start. If you were to try to launch an omni-pool system in a decentralized manner, some bad actor could introduce a toxic asset, artificially inflate it, wash trading or what have you, and pull real liquidity out of that ecosystem. And we're just solving for that and so many other problems just by being a curated blockchain.
Nice. Yeah, that's really rad. The next thing I wanted to ask you about was your NFTs. That's right now you guys are essentially using your NFT to showcase what other projects that come onto Gauss are able to do inside of your ecosystem. How exactly are your NFTs showcasing that?
Yeah, so we launched the Ferro card NFTs back in July, and it's serving a number of purposes for us. These NFTs are going to be around, forever, presumably, right? Gauss is a tech startup that I want to be at the helm of for 10, 20 plus years. This is what I want to do with my life. And over that duration, I want to continue pumping value into those Ferro card NFTs. If we have an event, we can do event tickets. If we have Pepsi launching with us, we can airdrop some Pepsi coin to all those holders. I call them magnets for rewards and keys for exclusive opportunities because I think that's a great way to explain what they are. We're also using it as a means of distributing our native coin, which is, again, not normal.
So what do you mean by that, as a means for distributing the coin?
So every person that buys a Ferro card has an allocation of our coin that they get.
Okay.
Once we migrate those over, they'll get those airdropped. Rather than just doing a token sale, which in my opinion can get kind of boring.
So in order to get the tokens, do they need the Ferro card NFT?
It's the only way to get them at present. We still need to raise liquidity before we launch a real liquidity pool on our swap. So the swap launches before the end of the month, I believe, is the schedule on that. And we have to have cash, right, to pair with Gang, which is our native coin. So until we have sufficient capital in hand, that's going to be the only way to get them.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And how would someone can someone buy the Ferro card right now, or do they need to wait until you guys start migrating those over?
No, they can buy them now. They can mint them on Polygon. We're also integrating USDC within the Gauss ecosystem. I really love USDC and Circle, by the way. I think they do a lot of things right. They're fully collateralized. They're ultra transparent. Things that we will also be doing. But you can mint them on our site. Just go to the Ferro cards tab and mint them there, and they'll pop up on Polygon for you. The price right now is $150, but it's in Matic. We manually change that price as Matic fluctuates. But once we get that amount. And I'm aiming for, because we also have another sale rather than doing a private sale with investors, institutional money.
Yep.
We're doing a fourth tier of them, which are $25,000 piece, not intended for the average, end user, but doing very similar to what we're doing with the first 3 Ferro cards. So if we have a VC firm that wants to buy our native coin, they can do it this way. They can buy as many as 4, which is something else. I'm limiting how much we take from any individual venture group, because I don't want somebody else having too large a holding or an outsized impact in 18 months. I don't want them dumping on our market. It again is not the easier path, right? Because I've already had to turn down 2 $1 million checks. That's not easy.
That's insane.
Yeah, well, it's a strange place to be in, because you see a lot of other layer ones. Oasis just raised 20-something million off their token sale. They're launching their blockchain in 2024. There's another blockchain that raised 98 million, and they're not launching until end of 2024. And it's just interesting to see that, because that 98 million one, they haven't announced their tokenomics publicly at all. I can't remember the name of that chain, but it's like so many things that are wrong with Silicon Valley and the tech world and startup world right now, right?
Right. I mean, that's a huge part of what we're seeing. I don't even name drop, but with everything that's happened in the last week, is that we're seeing people from outside this space just bring traditional baggage into the space instead of utilizing DeFi correctly. And I think that's why we're seeing so much explode or implode right now is basically exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to rally against traditional finance and then walk the same exact
rules path? Yeah, we hate TradFi. Watch us do the same thing in a different room. Like, just because you changed the space that you're doing it in doesn't mean that you changed the method. It's still broken if you're copying the method. Yeah, that's why when people say like, "Oh my gosh, does this mean that crypto's broken? Does this mean crypto's bad? Does this mean crypto's falling apart?" Absolutely not. This means some traditional finance guys brought their same broken mindsets and methods into a space that has the capacity for greatness, and they failed, just like they would have had they been in the traditional world.
Right, yeah, bank run can happen. It is happening in China all this year. Bank runs in China have been a thing. That's a TradFi thing from, fractional reserve lending. If the bank has $1 billion of assets under management from their clients, they then lend that out. But they don't just lend it out 1 for 1. It's so much worse than that. They lend it out, 9 to 1 or 10 to 1, or they don't have to keep much left in the bank for what they're lending out. And that's literally what happened with the largest implosion. He took client funds and invested them. Yep,
exactly. So I think, though that was a little bit of a sidetrack there, to me, important. I was going to say the next question I was going to have for you essentially ties right into that. So, hey, it worked. Okay. Just that usually, and I asked you this question last time you were here. Usually I ask every project like, hey, what's your guys' personal status on being doxxed or KYC'd or security stuff, just to learn where that with security. You guys, I know we've gotten into that and people can dive into you specifically. But one of the things that is so important to Gauss and why you're curating and why you're paying attention to what actually launches on you with a manual vetting process isn't just because you want to find projects that you like their ideas. It is with security in mind. And I guess I just wanted to ask, what are you guys doing, for anyone that isn't aware, what are you guys doing with security in mind? Why is Gauss as a blockchain going to be a place that is a little bit different, where some of these bank runs might be more unlikely or scams might be less likely? What are you guys doing as far as re-innovating security in the DeFi space?
Yeah, so the first part of that question, we obviously support KYC and doxing. we ourselves are doxed. We're partnering with Obsidian to provide KYC services to projects launching with us. And my reason for making that choice was because of how Obsidian handles KYC. I think you have a very thorough approach to it that aligns with my vision of what we want to do, and I think that'll continue to evolve over time, as Taylor and I have talked numerous times about.
Yep.
But yeah, our curation process starts with the project applying with us, and then they go through an internal review from everything they've provided, their links, their own socials, their personal socials, things like that. And we have a scoring rubric that we use internally to give it, the green light if we want to allow them to pass into the next steps of the ecosystem. The very next step being KY being. We call it KY being, know your business, not know your customer. But that's when we pass them off to Obsidian to do that process.
Yep.
And from there, they undergo a legal review, depending on where they are in the world, what their plan is, what their structure is. There's a lot of holes that get left open that bite projects down the road, and we want to catch those pretty early on, as often as possible. And then after that, they go through another internal review to decide whether or not we actually want to launch them with Gauss. And there's a tokenomics review before that as well. I knew I was missing a step.
Well, so it's not like it's just the idea. Do we like the idea? Like there is a lot going into allowing a project to launch on Gauss.
Yeah. We want to make sure that the teams, the projects, the value are all worth entering the ecosystem. We want to build a very high quality, high integrity ecosystem. That's all of those steps. And then one other thing, post-launch, because I'm skipping all the between green light and between launch right now, but when they launch, we're actually maintaining the LP. So we pair it with Gang, right? So we're basically giving them a large liquidity grant to launch with the ecosystem early on, and then we're taking that LP and locking it up. So that's an anti-rug measure right out the gate.
So if a project is on Gauss's blockchain, Gauss is in control of their liquidity pool.
Not all, but most,
it's not like they have sole control over their liquidity pool.
Right.
And when you say lock, are you locking a portion of their liquidity pool? If so, what portion? Or are you guys how does that work?
Yeah, let's say we launch somebody with $1 million of their token and $1 million of our native coin.
Yep.
That gets locked up. For right now, it'll probably be 6 to 12 months because we're planning on the Omni pool, and we have to plan for that migration into the Omni pool. Mm-hmm. But after that, I don't care. We can lock them up for 12, 18, whatever months. And the Omni pool has one liquidity token. That's a whole different aspect of that. But the idea behind it is the LP that projects start with, they need liquidity more often than not LPs, right? For small projects. And those LPs are the keys to rugging their project. That's how the vast majority of rugs happen. Is either they maintain too much of the supply, because it's not locked up over time, or they're LPs. They literally just rug the liquidity.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I had one more question, just backing up a second. Just not that this is a super pertinent question. I'm just curious of your response. With Gauss being curated, obviously security is at the forefront, quality is at the forefront, investor safety is at the forefront. What would you say to somebody that is OG crypto, ride or die anonymity? What would your response be to someone who their love of crypto is because of the super decentralized nature? What would your response be to essentially sway them towards the way that Gauss is doing things?
I don't know that they need to be swayed. I think the entirety of the decentralized space still has value, and should continue to exist. But I do believe that a curated platform, a trusted platform, has immense value in this space and is inevitable. I don't think everyone needs to be swayed. I also tend not to try to sway Bitcoin maximalists.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, is that, and I say this all the time, that there's essentially space for everyone inside of DeFi and crypto. There really is a spot for everybody. There's a wide range of projects, there's a wide range of ideas, there's a wide range of ecosystems, and if you're the kind of person who is looking for those things at the forefront, right, like curated quality, a higher level of scrutiny, a higher level of safety, then maybe Gauss is the space for you.
Yeah. I mean, see, I don't see us as being in direct competition with like Polygon, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they launched with Starbucks. I wish everyone the best of success, but I don't think, especially with large brands, that they're going to find happy homes in a lot of those places. You're going to see 20 and 40 different scams running around Starbucks. Not that they're running, obviously, but that hurt and impact their brand.
So the difference is, if using Starbucks as the example, if Starbucks launches on any mainstream blockchain, they launch their NFTs, maybe they want a token for their, or an NFT or a token for like their, I don't know what Starbucks is doing, but maybe it's like for their reward system, and they launch on a main blockchain. It's super easy to just create a fake Starbucks coin and airdrop that to people. It's super easy to manipulate people and pretend like you're the real Starbucks. Your answer is, with Gauss, if you're a brand like that, that's not even an option, because they can't just launch out of thin air. They would have to go through an entire process with you in order to get onto the Gauss blockchain, and they would be denied 10 different times if they were just copying Starbucks.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's, for what you guys are building, it's genius.
Yeah. And I mean, I use that example because Starbucks has an $8 billion a year business in just their app and gift cards, right? Their reward programs, loyalty programs, all of the Starbucks little ecosystem of unspent dollars. It was actually a brilliant way for them to literally get a multi-billion-dollar loan. It's actually more than $8 billion. I think $8 billion is their maintained assets at any given point in time. There's $8 billion, and yeah, that's what it is. It's $8 billion in gift cards and preloaded cash on their app and all that stuff, which is huge. If we just use that number though, and say 10% of the people try out their new program, which they're not going to say it's crypto. They don't need to. They can hide that under the hood, which is what a lot of businesses should look at.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the mainstream brands are starting to do now anyways.
It's what's needed. But, if 10% try it out, and then 10% of those get scammed, and that money just goes into some hacker's pocket or a lot of scammers' pockets, that hurts their brand.
Well, that's
to the tune of
300 million, right?
yeah, countless millions of dollars. It's not like a Snickers bar we're talking about here. And that's just one brand's example in one space. So I suspect that a lot of brands are going to keep trying to dip their toes into the water like that. And the reason it's not competition for us is because I think somebody like Starbucks in 2 years could still end up on Gauss. They're like, ooh, wow, we touched the stove. It was hot. Maybe we should go put on some safety gloves, work with these guys,
Yep, exactly. So you guys are offering a curated experience that really fills a specific need. I ask that question to myself all the time when I'm investing or looking at up and coming projects or companies. It does feel like all too often projects launch in crypto, and when you say things like, hey, what are you solving? Like, what issues exist that you're actually solving? And they're kind of making up problems to then solve them so that you think they have a utility. You guys aren't doing that. You have a legitimate utility that you can solve issues with the blockchain right now. With using examples like Starbucks, do you guys have like what is your plan? Like, do you have inroads to connect to these big brands, or are you working on just building yourself up to the point that they would want to connect with you?
No, so we do have connections with a number of brands, specifically in the music and entertainment industry.
Okay.
But also some others.
So when you say music and entertainment, are you saying, like, without getting too specific, like we see celebrity NFTs all the time? Is that kind of the industry you're dipping into?
Yeah. Cool. I also wouldn't mind seeing some celebrities. I was debating what I could say here.
That's why
with entire ecosystems built around them to create real lasting digital legacies. Because right now you have some of them, even the most prolific in this space, like Snoop Dogg, launching NFTs all over the place. I don't even know how many projects he's involved in, but they're not his. He doesn't have his own token. I think you could tokenize an entire legacy experience for him and really build that out. But for him to launch a token in another space is incredibly risky. So that's one of the things we're working on. And we do have a lot of inroads. I have a decade of experience in the event and entertainment industry, which is hilariously dwarfed by another member of our team who's even listening in, who has a few decades in the industry. Yeah, we have plenty of connections in the space. That said, we could have 100 conversations and 100 of them could be no's. Just because we have those connections doesn't mean they're going to be yes. And some of those are like the best connection you can imagine, still might be a no. Part of the reason I'm not comfortable discussing at all, who they might be, I can say that 2 days from now, we have a meeting with one of the largest talent agencies in the world. I think that's vague enough that I can say that. But there's Fortune 500 companies we have brands to too. Some other cool conversations that are happening, but all these things take time. Another benefit we get out of working with artists, musicians, celebrities, that sort of thing, is we probably get to move faster. The timeline for the Starbucks deal with Polygon probably took them 9 to 18 months to get to that point. I don't think they would have announced something at that scale, in a single marketing quarter. So it takes time. We're a tech startup and working with real businesses. One other caveat I'll add is that we don't want every celebrity either. A lot of celebrities have themselves launched non-valuable products just to extract money from audiences.
And we see that with a lot of like the athlete NFTs that are kind of garbage. they're maybe they don't realize it, but they're basically just scamming their own audiences. Right.
And I think there's room for sports collectibles and things. Obviously, sports cards have always done well. Yeah. But, a digital sports card that your initial sale price is like $400, $500, that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
That is not
there's no
justifiable. There's no additional value you're adding there. Now, if they had meet and greets, because there was one NBA player who offered like an NFT series based around his personal brand with the promise of meet and greets and like courtside tickets to things. And it was actually not bad. And they were like, we're going to plan a bunch more stuff. Problem was he raised $2.5 million, got bored and dropped it.
Yep. So there has to be some kind of, maybe the word is accountability, some kind of accountability for brands and companies and influencers and individuals. Are you guys going to have like accountability factored in? Yes. Like post-launch accountability factored in as a part of your curation system?
Yeah, that's a huge part of what I don't want to say I'm looking forward to those court battles, but being a business at the helm of a layer 1 blockchain who is taking an active approach to curation, we have liability, first off, legal liability and legal exposure in a number of ways with the projects we launch, we allow. And on the other side of that is accountability. So, if somebody, because it's going to happen. I say that we're a fraud and scam-free, infringement-free ecosystem, because it should be close enough to zero that we can say it's zero. However, it would be naive to say that it's never possible, it could never happen, whatever. But if somebody does something, 2 years they accumulate their token for their project, dump on the market, and then try to ghost, we want to be able to pursue them legally to the ends of the earth for our ecosystem, for our users. Something that no swap can do right now or is interested in doing. Something no blockchain can do or is interested in doing. Well, because they take a very hands-off approach. They don't want the liability, so they can't provide accountability.
Yeah, I think that's why we resonate so much with you. That was like part of why we started Verified by Obsidian, right? Our KYC service was because we were just investors getting rugged, and we were tired of seeing many, not all, but many KYC companies really just do nothing. And we're like, dude, what the heck? Like these guys just ran away with our money and nothing's happening at all. There has to be something that can be done. And that's kind of why we stepped in, was like, hey, we're willing to, like, we do believe in decentralization. We do believe in anonymity. But at some level, if you want to build something, you have to be responsible for what you build. And so that's why we stepped in, is we just want to see like the quality standard raised. And we've like jokingly said that, like, hey, at some point we would love to be the Batman of DeFi that just goes after the bad guys in the shadows, and we make sure that investors are safe.
We're going to have to do that. I have to get like a giant bat signal for Obsidian now.
Exactly. And it'll say KYB on it for you.
Yeah.
So, yep. I think that's part of where, like, I think that's why I resonate so much with what you guys are doing. I really do, like, I would say, and this, I asked you that question earlier, on like a personal level, I really appreciate anonymity. I really appreciate decentralization. That's part of what originally attracted me to the crypto space years ago, is this idea that, like, a central figure can't control it, like a bank can't control it, a government can't control it, people can have the power again. That as an idea is really enticing to me. But here I am with my first and last name fully doxed ever since we've been in the space, because I recognize that if I want to build something, that's a little bit different than me being a consumer. And being allowed to be anonymous, because if there are people counting on me, I don't want to be hiding in the shadows. And if there was a valid reason for me to be anonymous, then I can find a solution like KYC or KYB that I can remain anonymous from maybe more central figures. But at the end of the day, I'm staying responsible. And so I think I really respect what you guys are doing with that. I think that it's a tough approach to know that, like, hey, inevitably at some point you're going to end up in court battles. Inevitably at some point you're going to end up having to chase someone down because they try to screw someone over. But I would much rather know that I'm investing in something that someone is going to do something about it, or at least try to do something about it, than just, it's the same as fully gambling and throwing my money into the wind. And so I really respect it.
Well, see, I wanted to, because decentralization and anonymity are things that, again, I agree with and believe as well. And it's not like Gauss is, shining a flashlight on every user. I believe in the anonymity of the end user. We, as a layer one ecosystem, are not requiring KYC for everyone in the ecosystem. That's a point that, I and our attorneys have had constant conversations about, because if that law came down in the US, we're probably not going to be a US-based company anymore, or would immediately have to start that fight way earlier than what we want, because I think end-user anonymity is important. Now, projects in our ecosystem can require KYC. The on-off ramps are going to require KYC. That's just the nature of the world. But us as a layer one blockchain do not want to set the precedent of requiring everyone to be KYC'd. Like, the SEC could just have a field day with that.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of things. I also believe in the decentralization of revenue streams. I've talked about that before. Just because we're a business and we're centralized with this ecosystem doesn't mean we don't have aspects that are really, in my opinion, some of the best aspects of what everyone's looking for. We don't want custody of your assets to create another incident like what just happened. That's a downside of centralization that we just get to skip on. I don't care about end user or us having end user custody. I do care about end users maintaining their own custody. So, sorry for that little tangent.
No, I mean,
I'm kind of passionate about this whole thing.
Yeah, I started it, so I think we're on the same wavelength. Well, I would love to move to some audience questions. I could ask my own questions. I feel like we could chat all day, but I got some good audience questions in here, and don't want to keep you as long as you were here last time. So we'll jump right into some of these audience questions. The first is from Pi. Pi said, "Can you give just a brief overview on your tokenomics, vesting, etc.? What has Cyril cooked up with y'all? LOL."
Well, I love Cyril to death. I actually just got a DM from him, but he actually wasn't involved with us developing our initial tokenomics. We have a 250 million total supply that are going to be vested out over 4-ish years. The initial circulating supply is about 60 million. 27 million of that, I believe. Hold on. What is that number for the Ferro cards? A chunk of them are dedicated to the Ferro cards. We have another kind of gamified. It's 24 million tokens to the first 3 tiers of Ferro cards. We have a gamified way of distributing more that we're calling OR NFTs, and we'll have more information about that in a bit. The team's tokens are vested over a 24-month period with a 4-month cliff. So we don't get any of our tokens until the beginning of Q2 next year, I believe. Yeah, that's the rough side of it.
Nice. Cool. Next question from Leo Corno. He said, "What is the connection?" You just mentioned Cyril. "What is the connection with Parrotly and Only Burns and Sphere, etc.? How are they relevant and important? Do I need to be in all of them to benefit from Gauss?"
So if those are other projects that you, first off, only be in whatever project you believe in. And if you don't believe in Gauss, don't feel ever pressured. Like, don't buy into FOMO. Like, please, for anything, for us and anything else. But Cyril and Parrotly and KC Consulting we're working with in a couple different ways. Cyril's one of our advisors now. KC Consulting will be providing tokenomics review services for projects launching with us. Sphere will be launching in our ecosystem at some point in the future, although we decided to push that off a bit, likely until we get the Omni pool up, because neither Sam nor I want to fracture liquidity further. We both dislike that. We're both excited about the Omni pool project. So that part might get pushed off, and we're exploring other products.
Does that mean that Sphere tokens would be available like in Gauss or on Gauss?
Yeah, that's the intent. A couple different things. One, they'll have their own swap with us, whether it's, FOSS on Gauss. I don't know what the hell they call it, but that is not alpha. I swear that just came off the top of my head because of the Cone. What was it? Cone and what's the other one? I don't remember. But
there's a million.
Yeah, there's a lot. But yeah, they'll launch something, swap in our ecosystem, and likely some other products. And then we have 50 million Sphere tokens that will be added to the liquidity pool. So there will be a way to bridge in and out with Sphere. I don't know how taxes are going to be handled and all that stuff, but that's that. And then we have a bunch of other partners that we're going to be announcing and are working with as like strategic partnerships and affiliates, is what I've been calling them, who will assist projects launching in our ecosystem. Because this is something else we get to do as a curated blockchain, is set people up and projects up for success. We're not just saying, hey, little toddler, go off into the woods and fight the wolves. A lot of projects need operational, organizational, legal, marketing assistance, and we can help shore those up.
So you're not sending the toddler off. You're almost their dad. You're training them up for warfare. Gauss is DeFi's daddy.
DeFi daddy.
Coin that. Gauss is the DeFi daddy.
Somebody make that a GIF. That's great.
That's good. Getting a little degen there.
Yeah, well, I mean, so we're going to have an incubator and accelerator down the road, but this is kind of what the early stages of that look like. We're already doing all the due diligence steps, so it only makes sense then to make sure that we're really providing the best start that any project can have. Making sure that they have all their I's dotted, T's crossed, plug them into resources that they otherwise wouldn't have, setting them up with grants, because we're going to be announcing our grant program soon. I guess that's alpha I can drop here, because I don't think I've said it in an AMA yet, but $2.5 million grant program that we'll be announcing for projects launching with us. So lots of different things with lots of different partners of different capacities, and no, you don't need to be in all of their things. If you like a project, support them.
Cool.
Don't FOMO in.
Easy. Good answer. Next question from Pi. He said, validator nodes, who can get them? How much will they be as far as ballpark figure? Just anything about Gauss validator nodes.
Well, at launch, we don't have a ton of validators. We don't need them. Right now, if you went and looked at our block explorer, I think we even have our block time set to 10 seconds right now, which won't be the end running block time. We can lower that later. But the answer is none available to the public or anyone else for a while. Down the road, we'll end up having some available to select partners. How much those end up being, I've said before in conversation that it's unlikely they would be less than 250,000 a piece. There's a lot of reasons that go into all of that, but also there aren't going to be a ton. We don't benefit from having 10,000 validators. For us and for any blockchain, that slows down transactions. We get to have really, really rapid transaction speeds and high TPS by having very few validators. Right now, the mainnet launched with 4, 2 in the US, 1 in Asia, 1 in Europe, and then we'll likely move to 8 and 12 as we need to, but there's no need right now. So,
cool, sweet. Next question from DG. He said, speaking about the curation process, what previous experience does your team have in vetting projects, or what makes you guys qualified to vet projects?
I don't think there's something specific to that answer. Like, we're not investigators. We haven't worked with the Alphabet's groups. I'm a Marine veteran, but I'd never ended up going to the FBI. You can build a curation process without being a specialist in curation. I also don't think there is a way to be an expert, 1, in this space, 2, in something we're doing new in the space. This is a frontier region that we're pioneering in. So I don't think we need to be experts in that. I would also, as a random thought, say be wary of anyone who calls themselves a crypto expert. Like, I started mining Bitcoin in 2009, and I started building in this space 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I would not consider myself, even now, still a crypto expert. We launched a blockchain, and I still wouldn't yet call myself a crypto expert. It's a very new space.
It's funny. Every time I have someone on our podcast and I introduce them as crypto experts, pretty much every time they're like, no, I'm not an expert. And you can tell that the people that I would actually trust to be an expert probably are humble enough to say, like, hold on. And it made me think, and you saying that made me think about, like, when we started the verified by Obsidian process with KYC, dude, similarly, hey, if you're pioneering something, there was like things that we were like, dude, this is the best. Like, our standards are already like more scrutinous than anyone else. And we got screwed pretty heavily a couple of times because we, you just get hit by things that you don't anticipate because they've never happened yet. And it's more about like, ooh, are you the expert that's had a ton of experience developing something that's never been developed? Or do you have the capacity to actually grow with that and pivot with that and adapt to it? And I think, like there was literally lessons that we never could have learned because they had never happened yet in the KYC space. So then we said, oh, cool. Like we know we can't do that because that's not going to maintain a standard of quality. So let's change it and raise it. And so I think as long as you guys go into it with a similar mindset, but I would also say like with curation, I think that a well-informed team of investors or people that have just loved the crypto space, like it's not hard for me, and this isn't like any weird form of arrogance. It's not hard for me to look at a project to know quickly whether or not they're garbage or not. Like I would say, if it's a bad project, give me 10 seconds on their website or their white paper, and I will tell you if it's a bad project. Now, you've got like the 10% that aren't the bad projects, and those take a little bit more detail and looking into it and curating it to determine which ones are going to, maybe it's not a bad project as in bad actors, but hey, this issue or this red flag that you wouldn't have caught if you hadn't been in the space for a while. And I think that's what it is. When I say it takes me a couple of seconds, is a year ago, it would not have taken me that little of time. It's just the more you look at stuff, the more you're in the space, the more you talk to projects. I talk to at least 10 projects a week behind the scenes, probably significantly more than that most of the time. You just start to pick up on things, right? And so I think as you guys curate more and more projects, that'll actually help the quality continue to rise because you're going to catch things that maybe you would have let pass early on because it wasn't a red flag until you had seen it. And then it becomes a red flag later on. And you guys grow and adjust. And so really like the more you curate, the higher quality it's going to get, in my mind, at least, as long as you guys are doing a good job with that.
No, I agree. And there's two things I wanted to say after that. One, I think you're being generous saying 10% of projects are worth their salt.
Probably.
I think it's probably less. I also what's that?
I said like 0.5%.
Yeah, it might be 5 to 8, but like picking 8 as a random number, I think it's probably closer to 5. Out of 100. Anyway. The second thing that I wanted to mention, since we're talking about experience and stuff with the team, part of what I've been focused on when building this team is transferable skills. A lot of experience in other areas that are well transfer themselves to this, and the ability to learn and adapt. Lifelong learners. We have a lot of value vision alignment within the team, but the real value of having transferable skills can't be overstated, I don't think. Pat, he's been a CFO for multi-billion-dollar tech companies for 3 decades.
Yeah.
We have individuals on the team who have 2 to 3 decades of experience in a field doing a thing that isn't something you can get in the crypto space. You can't have 30 years experience in something that has been around at best for 13 years.
Well, in DeFi for 2.5.
Right, exactly. Like, that's why I said at best, like if you wanted to say, oh, well, I was coding 2 days after Bitcoin launched, I'm an old salty dog in crypto. Like, come on.
Yep. I think that's a fair point. That's real similar to what we look at as we hire team members. And like realistically, I think about some of the stuff I do, hosting AMAs. That wasn't a thing. I never hosted an AMA until I hosted my first AMA. And when we started doing AMAs, that wasn't like super frequent in the space. There wasn't a lot of groups running. That's because DeFi's not existed that long, right? We've been here for long enough that I remember when AMAs were not happening the way that they happen now. And we came into it with the like, hey, I did similar stuff in the real world. What if I switch a little bit up on the way that the AMAs are kind of being done right now? And now a ton of people do similar stuff, whether that's because they worked with our model, or they just brought more transferable experience into the space, right? Like it just wasn't happening yet. And so people are coming into it and saying, hey, like I can work with that. I did this thing similarly in a different industry because this one's so new. And that's the norm. That's going to be how it develops.
Yep.
But anyways, next question from Burner. Burner said, in your opinion, what are the main roadblocks to offering NFTs as event tickets?
There's a few. Ticketmaster and Eventbrite would be the literal largest obstacles. The titans of that industry. I wouldn't say for better or worse because it's largely for worse. It's going to take some time to figure out how to do it best because I know more than half a dozen small and medium business owners that are ticket company owners. And then I know more than a few different people or groups that are working on ticketing solutions, or they're literally tackling that problem in as many ways, like in 6 different ways. So we're still really early into figuring out what the best route is. Like the ticketing industry is very mature. How do you plug in a new technology and make it work better, not just for novelty's sake, right? Because the end user needs to not see under the hood. It needs to be a seamless experience. For large events where you have 30, 50, 250,000 people, you can't add 10 seconds to the gate time of in each person, or you will crash that event. Like, it is already a massive thing for large events to handle. So it has to be done thoughtfully. It's going to happen in smaller events first. There's going to be some indie band, some punk band or whatever that does it. Yeah, it'll grow over time and we'll figure out what's best. And there's a lot of obstacles there.
Cool. Yeah, good answer. Next from, I don't know if you can answer this one or not, but next from Pi, do you have a rough estimate of how many projects are in the process for your blockchain? The only one I know about before this AMA was Sphere. From Pi.
Well, we have 5 announcements this week. We made one today. Yeah, I think we made one today with the CoinLogic listing service, but that's not exactly launching with Gauss, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to provide listing services with us. Everyone launching on Gauss will be listing with them, in addition to CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap. But I think it's good to grow with small projects too. That's an interesting thing. But overall, I'm literally staring at my ceiling. It's more than a dozen that we're having different conversations with, or at different levels, or whatever. That's not the connections we have. Those are just active conversations.
Yeah. Cool. More than a dozen. Next question from Doc Nonu. He said, do you guys have a difference in how the process is going to work? Say, like, as far as the curation and vetting process for a brand new project that wants to launch on Gauss versus a project that's on a different blockchain and would like to migrate over to Gauss? What is that process like?
What is the project or process for a new project? And
for a project who's not new. So we've already talked about what it looks like for a new one. But if someone wanted to switch over to Gauss and migrate to you guys, say they wanted to leave BSC and become a Gauss-based project, what would that look like?
So the process is actually going to be very similar, the application curation process, but it's going to be more thorough because you already have existing things launched. It's going to be harder to migrate you over. If you have bad tokenomics, it's going to be harder to fix. None of that's to say it's not doable, but it is a more thorough and more difficult process. But we're very open to that. There's one project that has a few different things in their ecosystem that we've been in talks with for a long time about migrating over. and they have a significant user base, but it will not be a small undertaking to handle that.
Yeah. And Dr. Nunu had one other question I wanted to ask that we hadn't got to yet. Interesting question. He said, I personally feel that curation and vetting should be incorporated across way more blockchains instead of everyone being free range. Do you guys intend on like partnering with or pioneering with other blockchains to develop some kind of curation system that other blockchains could sub out from you guys? Or do you want to keep that curation system and just bring those projects to Gauss?
So I actually disagree. And I would say that we'd be open to having a conversation, but I don't see it ever happening, nor do I think it should happen. Yeah, there's for them to exist in the way they exist, like the closest might be, Binance or Polygon, because they are a company. Binance is obviously they only have 21 validators. They are centralized, but run it as a decentralized chain where anyone can launch. It would be an easier switch for them, say, than Ethereum. Ethereum, it's impossible. It is not possible for Ethereum to become a curated chain. Nor should it, and nor would it. Furthermore, you have everything that's ever launched on them. How do you go back to all of that and review all of it? Right. You can't. We're starting fresh with this as a layer 1 for a reason. We get to do a ton more things with this blank canvas in our new art gallery, as it were, than if we were trying to do this any other way.
Yep. Yeah, totally makes sense. From Marvelous, what's the fair launch price going to be once there's an ability to buy in outside of the NFTs?
We're targeting 30 cents. That is my goal right now. My goal is also to set up a $3 million liquidity pool, 1.5 million USDC paired against Gang. That's the goal and intent. I have a number of investor meetings this week, and we have lots more Ferro cards to sell before we get there. But yeah.
Nice. From Tesla Maxi, and you answered the first part of this, but not the second part. What will Gauss offer to pull companies, projects to the chain? Are you looking to change previous commitments like Disney or Starbucks to Polygon? So we talked about that already, but will the chain Gauss look to be ESG compliant to draw attention from these big companies?
It's interesting. We are and will be ESG compliant, are already today. One of the benefits of being centralized, not needing 10,000 nodes, is I can, without having crunched the numbers yet, I can say that Gauss is already one of the most, if not the most, energy efficient chains publicly that exists. Nice. I can say that because we have 5,000 transactions per second spread across 4 nodes, not 40,000, right? Or 21. Right. Even just Binance has 21. We can literally pit number to number and say, yeah, we're using less energy per transaction. That's just how math works. But I sadly think that transaction speeds, because we're not going to touch them for a while, ESG, all the green metrics, they're all vanity metrics. I've told our marketing team I don't care about promoting them because I think they're just vanity metrics. They're hollow. They're not useful. But I do get the point that some brand is going to be like, are you green? And we're going to say, yes. Yes, we're green.
Yes. Cool. Beautiful. Well, I know there's a few more questions in there, I'm sure, that I hadn't found yet, but I don't want to keep you much longer than an hour. The final question that I would have is just for anyone who's listening that wants to jump into what you guys are building, Gary, to jump into the Gauss ecosystem. They want to pay attention early. You guys are really at you've kind of been in the beta for a long time, and you're just now launching the Gauss blockchain. Things are just starting to take off. If you end up being the next big dog, this is an exciting time to be watching what you guys are building. Where's the best place to get involved at or watch from? Where should they go to connect with you guys after this?
Our Discord. We're active, very active in our Discord. Come over there. Ask questions. That's the best place for us right now. Even though I'm on calls constantly and we're all pretty busy, I still try to make time every day to hop in Discord and talk to everyone. If you're a new project that wants to apply with us, you can do that for right now via submitting a ticket there. And our curation team can plug you in where they need you or need to, corral you through. If you want to buy a Ferro card and have questions, hop over in our Discord. That's going to be my answer for just about all of those. If I don't know that I'm going to have the time today to repeat what we did last time. I can answer. Do you have like another one or two that you really want to ask, or did you want to cut it at that one being your final?
We can cut it at that. I would have to sort through them more than that. So
that's fine. If we didn't get to your question, please come over to our Discord and ask it there, and I swear I or one of the team will get around to answering it.
Beautiful. Awesome. And that Discord, you guys, is posted and pinned. If you go to AMA Deets, right below the channel where you were asking questions, you can see their Discord there. It's just discord.gg/Gauss. Use that vanity link. That's easier than all the random numbers. Beautiful, Gary. Dude, this has been a blast. We should have you back sooner than we did last time.
Not wait another 3 months?
Yeah, let's not do July to November next time. Maybe we'll get you back in like a month.
Yeah, definitely. I love coming over here, you guys. Your community has the best questions, and I love questions. So
I appreciate that. Shout out to the community. You guys are awesome.
Thank you all so much for listening in and for asking so many great questions. Again, please hop over to our Discord to ask them if we didn't get to it.
Beautiful. Sweet. Thank you so much, everyone. Have an amazing Tuesday evening. And then I'll post. We're going to go pick the best question for that Iron Tier NFT giveaway. I'm going to go back through them and find a great question, and we will tag you in the announcements channel. Have an excellent day, everyone, and thank you, Gary. I appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one.